What would you sacrifice for power? Your pride? Your dignity? Or even your own wife? In a quiet African village, one man, respected, admired, faced the crushing pressure of poverty and the hunger for promotion at work. He was told that only a ritual could lift him up. Only blood could unlock the doors that remained shut. And so, he did the unthinkable. He cut off his wife's breast to offer it to the gods. He got the riches. He got the promotion. He got everything he thought he wanted. But what happened next shocked the entire village. Okoro was not a lazy man. He woke before the sun, carried his worn briefcase, and walked the dusty path to his government office every morning. But no matter how hard he worked, his salary was never enough. It barely fed his children, barely clothed his wife, barely kept their small house from crumbling. In the village, whispers traveled faster than the wind. Men spoke of wealth, of promotions, of houses built overnight. Yet, each whisper always ended the same: connections. At work, his colleagues mocked him. Okoro, they laughed, without money for bribes, you will never rise. He swallowed his pride. He told himself, one day they will see. At home, his wife welcomed him with a gentle smile, her hands rough from work but soft on his shoulders. She told him, we will endure. We have love, and that is enough. But love could not silence the echo of his failures. Love could not fill empty bellies. Love could not buy respect. Everywhere he turned, doors slammed shut. Promotions went to others. Opportunities skipped his name. The village praised men who had sacrificed, who had paid their price. And in the silence of night, when the world slept, Okoro whispered to himself, what must I do? What must I give? The hunger for more grew inside him. Not just hunger for food, but hunger for dignity, for respect, for power. And so the question comes to you. What would you do if every door stayed closed to you, unless you paid with blood? Okoro's footsteps dragged him into places where decent men did not go. Places whispered about in the corners of the market, places spoken only with lowered voices. At the edge of the forest sat the hut of the diviner. Its roof sagged, its walls leaned, and yet, a dark presence made it tower over everything. Okoro hesitated. His breath caught in his chest. His mind screamed, turn back. But his legs carried him forward. Inside, the air was thick. Thick with incense. Thick with whispers. Thick with something unholy. The diviner sat cross-legged, eyes white as if rolled back. His voice crawled through the silence. The gods have spoken, the diviner rasped. They demand the breast of your wife. It is the only way. Okoro's body stiffened. His lips parted, but no words came. Sweat poured down his temple. His heart hammered like a drum of war. How can I? He whispered. She is my wife. The mother of my children. The diviner's voice did not soften. Without sacrifice, there is no rise. Without blood, there is no throne. Choose, her flesh, or your failure. Okoro stumbled backward, clutching his chest. He left the hut, but he did not leave the words. They followed him. That night, Okoro lay beside his wife. The moonlight fell across her body, across her chest. And in the silence, he heard the diviner's words echo. The breast of your wife, the breast of your wife. He turned away, pressing his face into the mat. But the whispers grew louder. Each night became torment. Each morning became heavier than the last. At work, he could not hear his colleagues. At home, he could not hear his children. All he heard was the diviner. He tried to pray. He tried to forget. But even in prayer, he saw blood. Even in silence, he saw her flesh. And so he lay awake night after night, his wife's body warm beside him, his mind trapped in a cold cage of whispers. The suspense grew. The choice pressed harder. The weight of ambition and the pull of love battled inside him. And once again, the question comes to you. If the gods demanded the flesh of the one you love, would you obey, or would you defy? He sat in silence as the village slipped into darkness. The moon hung heavy in the sky, casting long shadows across the earth. His hands trembled, yet they refused to let go of the knife. He whispered to himself, "This is the only way, the gods demand it. Without this, I am nothing." His voice cracked, as though even his spirit resisted. His wife slept beside him, her breath calm and steady, unaware of the storm hovering above her. Okoro leaned over her, staring at her chest as the diviner's words echoed like thunder in his mind. "The gods demand the breast of your wife." He raised the knife slowly. The weight of it felt heavier than iron. Every second stretched into eternity. Then, he struck. A scream tore through the night, splitting the silence, splitting the village itself. The birds scattered from the trees. Dogs barked furiously. The earth seemed to shudder. Blood spilled onto the earth, soaking the mat beneath them. Okoro snatched the flesh with shaking hands, his breath shallow, his face pale as death itself. Without looking back, he stumbled into the night. The gods were waiting. Or so he believed. He reached the shrine. A place of fear, of sacrifice, of whispers carried by the wind. He dropped to his knees, raising the bloody offering high into the night. "Make me rich, give me power," he whispered. His voice was not steady. It cracked, desperate, almost breaking into sobs. The fire roared in answer. It leapt skyward, as though swallowing the night itself. Okoro's eyes widened. He thought he saw faces in the flames, smiling, mocking, demanding more. The shadows danced. And so began the night that no one in the village would ever forget. The village woke in whispers. Some spoke of the scream that shattered the night. Others swore they saw fire rise higher than the trees. But when the morning sun returned, the world seemed unchanged. Okoro walked among them, his face calm, his hands steady. And yet, something about him felt different. The air bent strangely around him, as though shadows clung even beneath daylight. Days later, the news arrived. Okoro had been promoted at work. No one expected it, least of all him. His boss shook his hand firmly, papers sliding across the table with his name printed bold and proud. The pay rose. The doors opened. The man who once walked in rags now carried the air of a king. His pockets swelled with money. He bought new clothes, finer than any he had worn before. He moved with the weight of a man whose steps were suddenly lined with gold. The village stared. Men whispered, "He must know secrets." Women murmured, "No one rises so fast without the spirit's hands guiding them." Children pointed, their eyes wide, as though Okoro now walked with invisible gods at his side. But when the market closed, when the drums quieted, Okoro returned home. And there, behind the door, silence waited for him. The mat where his wife once sat was empty. The air smelled faintly of smoke and blood. The walls echoed nothing but his own breath. His hands touched the coins again. But what were they? Cold metal. Heavy. Useless. They could not laugh. They could not sing. They could not speak his name in love. He had gained everything the world could offer. But he had lost the one thing no shrine could ever return. And so, a question lingers. Not only for Okoro, but for every soul who watches his path. What is wealth, when the one you love most is gone? But the deepest punishment was not from men. It came from the woman he betrayed. Every night, when the moon rose high, she returned. His wife. Not in flesh, but in spirit. She sat at the edge of his bed, her wrapper stained, her chest bare, eyes filled with sorrow. She spoke not in anger, but in grief, grief so sharp it pierced deeper than any knife. "Okoro," she whispered, "was my love not enough? Why feed the gods with me, when I gave you my heart freely?" He tried to close his eyes, but sleep abandoned him. He tried to eat, but food turned to ash on his tongue. He tried to smile, but his wealth felt like poison in his veins. The breast he had given to the gods was not his wife's alone, it was his own soul he had cut away. In villages, truth cannot hide forever. The elders called him. They sat beneath the Iroko tree, their faces firm, their eyes burning with silent judgment. The people gathered around, voices rising like a storm. They shouted, "Tell us, Okoro. What did you do to your wife?" At first, he stood silent, trembling. But guilt is heavier than stone. His legs gave way, and he fell before them. His tears wet the earth as he confessed, every word, every crime. He expected chains, he expected death, but the punishment had already begun. From that day, no one greeted him. No one sat with him. Children threw stones when he passed. The man who once dreamed of power now walked like a shadow. Alive, yet already buried. He gained the riches. He gained the promotion. But he lost his wife, his children's laughter, his peace, and his place in the world. Power built on blood will only bring sorrow. Wealth without love is nothing but poverty. And so Okoro lived, but lived like a walking corpse, haunted by the one woman whose love had been more than any god's favor. Let this be a lesson to every home, to every heart. The greatest ritual is not blood, nor sacrifice, nor secret shrines. The greatest ritual is contentment.